ate noodles with no packet. Cereal with
Since
candy.
2013, Kill Tony has become the biggest comedy
Yes. Kill Tony, big show. Big show, big everything. We love Kill Tony. Let's find out what happened to these other regulars, because a lot of these niggas haven't been back in a long time, bro.
podcast on the planet, and nothing has been more coveted than the golden ticket, allowing a comedian to come back on whenever they want. But in this video, we're gonna look at every single golden ticket winner and find out what happened to them and how their life was changed by this opportunity. Because while the golden ticket has changed comedians' lives forever, it's also destroyed them in ways that you couldn't even imagine. Now, to get a full picture of what the golden ticket is and what it's become, you have to go back to the very first winner more than 7 years ago on episode 301.
All right, how about John Callahan, everybody? This is Kill Tony Mania. What do you guys say we pull this guy's last
he just
fucking
did. He can take it out. Look, he can take it out.
Who's John Callahan?
No way. Oh my God.
Not only would John become known for taking his teeth out, he would also rile everybody up with stories about his epilepsy, and this would be enough to win the first ever Kill Tony golden ticket. But the history of John would pretty much begin and end here, because he only appear on the show one more time, and it seems like his career as a comedian has come to an end. Our second golden ticket winner, however, would have a much more interesting story, because when Caroline Smith was pulled from the bucket, she wasn't just a fun interview, she was a legit comic.
I'm realizing I'm kind of an
From the very jump, the whole entire theme of the series and show has been find people that are completely just essentially disabled and put them onto the show. I like that format. I like it. I like supporting that.
asshole. I know that because the last time a homeless person asked me for money, I pretended I was retarded. I get that watching someone in a wheelchair use the word retarded is like watching a Hispanic person use the N-word.
But just like John, she too would disappear after only one more appearance. It's a trend we're going to see as we continue throughout these early years, and it's one of the reasons why it didn't really mean much to win one, because most of these were given out on road shows, and the winners weren't going to travel across the country to cash it in. But there was one young comic, the youngest comic actually, who would buck this trend. He was the first to realize the power of a golden ticket.
It got me thinking, like, what do I identify as sexually? And I think I got it. I think I most sexually identify as a virgin. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Come on, we all know what the fuck I mean. Doesn't look like I've ever...
What's his jacket? What's all this steez that he's got going on right now, bro? It's wild.
touched a boob before? Exactly.
Tristan was so young at this point, he couldn't even do stand-up without his mom in the club. But he was also smart enough to realize what a golden ticket could do for his career. For the next 3 months, he would drive from Phoenix to LA and perform on the show every single week. He was actually performing so often that they considered putting a limit on him. But Tristan was crushing, and nobody else was cashing it in at the time. Soon, however, there was going to be a lot more competition.
Really? So he started showing up way too often. Everyone's like, yo, this nigga needs to take a break.
And the days of getting up every Monday were going to come to an end. Now, Kill Tony was taking the show back on the road. And this time, they were hunting for the best talent all around the country. Some of these names would become icons, and others would be forgotten forever. But there was no doubt that tons of new winners were about to be given a chance.
Put your hands together for Todd Royce, everyone.
I'm growing my hair out. I look like Jesus with a thyroid problem.
This guy's hilarious, bro. 1 second, man.
I look like if Jesus moved back into his mom's basement and got really good at Fortnite.
Todd Royce was the first of this new wave of winners, and unlike John and Caroline, his eyes were open to the importance of this opportunity. Over the next few years, he cashed it in a total of 11 times. But Todd was also a great example of what a golden ticket winner should be. Sure, he was good in his first appearance, but over the years, he would become great. Todd definitely wasn't, because he was a part of some of the most iconic moments ever.
I actually brought it with me because they gave it to me.
You brought the stone with you? Oh.
This is the actual stone.
Oh my God, let's see that.
Jeez.
Let me see that, Lewis.
It's never been open. It's never been open.
Don't, Lewis, no. No, put that away.
Fuck, dude, I never.
No.
This new run of the golden tickets era was just beginning, though. It's an aspect that the show was desperately lacking in its first 350 episodes. But now, all that had changed. And not too long after finding Todd in Portland, they found their newest golden ticket winner just a few weeks later in Iowa.
Is there anyone here that thinks they can bench press the president of the United States? That guy right there?
guy.
Come on up here. We will count it. Holy shit.
And after bench pressing Jeremiah, Allo would crush his minute and be invited to another episode of Kill Tony the very next day, becoming the 5th golden ticket winner. But Allo is one of the most unique cases on this entire list of a comedian who could have and should have been great. But for the most part, he's been completely forgotten about. What's strange, though, is it actually has nothing to do with his lack of talent, and it has everything to do with a moment of bad luck.
If you don't get the fuck out of here, where'd you get those Jordans before or after Chappelle gave you that change? I got something funny. You look like Idris Elba fucked a blowfish.
I tried to...
Yo, I think maybe this kind of did it, dude.
It's funny too.
Since Allo was a truck driver in Iowa, he didn't get the opportunity to cash in his ticket often, but this was his big moment to prove that he could be a real part of the show. Unfortunately, Donnell would have one of the worst guest appearances of all time, completely ruining any chance Allo had to prove that he was worthy of more appearances. And since this moment, we've only seen him back on the show 2 more times. It's one of the more disappointing examples on this list of a comedian who should have been given the opportunity to grow and develop, but instead, he's just been forgotten at the time. Our next golden ticket winner, however, wishes that he could have been given the opportunity Allo did, because he's a comic that I can almost bet that you've never heard of before.
Pull a name out of the bucket. Make some noise for Ryan Middendorf.
I recently had to quit smoking weed, not because I wanted to, but because my psychiatrist told me to. But when I used to smoke and drive, I'd play this game called Everybody's a Cop. What you do is you stay in your lane, and drive the goddamn speed limit because you're too hot to drive and everybody's a cop.
Ryan was from a small town of a few thousand people, spending his time working at Taco Bell and working on a dairy farm. And even though he hadn't been doing comedy for very long, he was naturally funny. It was obvious that Ryan could have been a solid comedian, but if he wanted it, he'd have to move to a city with more than just one stoplight. It didn't seem like Ryan really cared that much, and in a way, it's kind of beautiful. It wasn't about the fame or the money, it was about the love of the land and dishing out Nacho Bel Grandes. And whichever small town he's wandering around right now, I'm sure he's probably the funniest there. And to Ryan, maybe that's better than being some big Kill Tony star. But while Ryan's disappearance had a wholesome aspect to it, our next golden ticket winners doesn't. And she's truly someone you've probably never heard of, and if you did, definitely forgot about her forever.
Pulled another name out of the bucket. Make some fucking noise for Nicole Pressler, everybody.
My daughter, like, she killed everything. She killed my bladder. I pee myself all the time. I pee myself if I sneeze, if I cough. I'm peeing myself right now. Hope it doesn't get on you. But even worse, I pee myself in the bedroom. The down and dirty time.
Now, if you're wondering how the hell Nicole won a golden ticket, you're not wrong. But this was still the time when Tony was handing these things out like candy. Unfortunately, though, this candy would be gobbled up. And after her one and only appearance, Nicole would never be seen from or heard of again. The grind of the Kill Tony roadshows, however, were still in full effect. And their next and most ambitious stop was Melbourne, Australia.
Pulled another name out. Make some noise for Liam O'Brien.
Girls, I know what it's like not knowing if someone's talking to you just because you have boobs. I was walking past the gym and there was a sign that said, join us and work out the way you want to. So I did. Turned
more popular, and better talent was actually willing to sign up. But Nicole was showing she could be so much more than just a comedian. She was proving that she could be a performer.
Stay with love forever true.
The great Nicole Tran, ladies and gentlemen. An unstoppable force and one of our favorite people that we've discovered this year here on Kill Tony.
Now, a performer is something that the show really hadn't seen up until this point. And as we've explored in other videos, it was around this time that Tony became obsessed with the idea of trying to create characters. Nicole was a mold that he could try to shape into a star. But unfortunately, this project would really never turn out how he imagined. As fun as Nicole was, she could just never take that next step that she needed. She would, however, set off a chain reaction that would lead to some of the show's greatest golden ticket winners ever. But before we get there, Tony was still hunting for his newest star. And his next comedian
the problem with Nicole Chan is that she likes to go off. She doesn't like to just hit the brakes. This is the problem with her.
All the potential he was looking for.
All right, your next comedian goes by the name of Jared Nathan, everybody.
And we both have dicks.
Holy shit. Oh my god. A star is born, everybody.
Jared was Tony's second real project in this new era of the golden ticket, but he too struggled hurdling the hump of becoming a star. It wasn't just enough to be funny. It had to be more than that. I mean, that's the real difference between a golden ticket winner and a regular. A golden ticket winner is someone who has potential. A regular is someone who's realized their potential. And Jared was struggling to take that next step. After nearly 30 appearances, it became pretty obvious that this probably wasn't going to happen. But he would be another example for these future winners to learn from, because gone were the days.
Really? So Jared Nathan is never coming back? That sucks. He's actually hilarious, dude.
Of John and Caroline. Now you had to have real star potential, and everybody seemed to realize that. And nobody seemed to realize that more than the kid who was just on America's Got Talent. And he wanted to see if he could translate that to the most ruthless comedy show on the planet.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Aaron Belial, everybody.
I'm a better ventriloquist than that other fucking idiot.
Aaron Belial is hilarious. He is funny.
Talk about something no one had ever seen before.
But
Here was
Jared
a mute,
Nathan, I'm mad that he doesn't come back.
cold-blooded killer, the type of comic Tony has wet dreams about. And not surprisingly, he would be a comedian who stuck around. But Aaron ran into a different problem than Jared and Nicole, because as unique as he is, if he was ever going to become more than a golden ticket winner, fans had to fall in love with him. And for the next few appearances, they did. But let's be honest, the whole no talking thing is kind of hard to do interviews. I mean, it's not his fault that most of the show is being able to give quick responses to questions. And for him to still carve out such a unique role on the show, it's actually pretty incredible. But Tony was still hunting for someone who could truly transcend the golden ticket. And before he knew it, he was face to face with the comic who had the potential to.
I'm definitely afraid of needles, so that's why I snort heroin. I asked this girl out recently, and she said she would go out with me. I was the last man on earth, so that was when my killing spree began. So.
Up until this point, Martin Phillips is the only comedian who can say he went from a golden ticket winner to a regular. He's honestly one of the best examples of what it means to win a golden ticket. Because sure, for his first 20 plus appearances, he was strictly just a golden ticket winner. But over time, he became so undeniable that Tony had no choice but to move him to a regular. Right now, the only full-time regulars on the show are William and Dedrick. But Martin was promoted to a fill-in regular. So if any of those guys miss an episode, Martin's in the rotation to step in. And he proves that the hurdle the previous winners couldn't get over isn't impossible. Martin makes it look easier than it actually is, though. Because this next batch of golden ticket winners were trying to do the same thing, but some of their careers on the show would actually end in tragic fashion.
And he put his arm around my shoulder, bro, and he proceeded to ask me the most racist shit I ever heard. He was like, Enrique, this is what they say whenever you make your love to a Latina, they make this noise in the bedroom, and he pushed me aside and he did this shit in the middle of the room.
Now, Enrique Chacon is one of the more interesting winners on this list because technically he was given a golden ticket all the way back in 2018 on his first ever appearance. Tony loved Enrique so much and he truly believed he could turn him into an actual star. But for the better part of the next 5 years, Enrique would completely disappear from the show. And when he finally came back, he didn't just want to be a golden ticket winner, he wanted to be a full-time regular. Unfortunately, even with Tony giving him a chance to make that happen, Enrique fell victim to the same fate that Jared Nathan did. He just wasn't good enough yet to hurdle that hump. And since then, he seemed to have settled into his role of golden ticket winner, appearing every 6 months or so. But this next winner is someone who had one of the most iconic runs ever, creating some of the most interesting moments in the show's history, and it ended in complete tragedy.
60 seconds uninterrupted for your next comedian out of the bucket, Rick Diaz.
I went to the cinema last weekend and I forgot to put my phone in silent mode, and nothing happened. Did you guys know that when cats know they're gonna die, they look for a very quiet and isolated place to die, away from the other cats? Yeah, they come to my place.
Rick Diaz would get a standing ovation and a golden ticket on his first ever appearance. At this point, you can see just how much the talent had evolved from its conception. But Rick wasn't cool with just being a golden ticket winner. He lived all the way in Brussels, and he knew his fate could easily be like Liam O'Brien's. So Rick devised a plan, a strategy, a calculated attack on one of Kill Tony's long-term regulars, because the only way for him to move to America is if he became one.
And I would kick Hans Kim's ass.
Wow, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the Hans Kim rivalry.
So are you still trying to protect Hans Kim?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
We'll see what happens. If I beat him,
What do you want?
I'll give him an honest rematch at New Year's Eve. In that arena.
Now, this is what Tony wanted out of a golden ticket winner. This was a glimpse of what it looked like to transcend it. This wasn't just about comedy anymore. This was turning into a spectacle. And at the New Year's Eve show, Rick went from a golden ticket winner with a great minute to a comedian performing to a sold-out Madison Square Garden for a chance at regularship. The only problem was, if he lost, he was going to lose his golden ticket too. And unfortunately, even though Shane Gillis and Matt McCusker both thought Rick won, the audience sided with Hans. And after one of the most legendary runs ever, Rick was the only golden ticket winner forced to forfeit his ticket. And with that, he had to abandon any chance of becoming a regular. But even though he's the only winner who's been stripped of it, he still goes down as one of the most iconic for being the first to actually transcend it. Our next golden ticket winner had the opportunity to transcend it, but fell short in ways that we've never seen before.
I am ageless. But yeah,
my favorite character on Kill Tony, after William Montgomery.
Old enough to fuck your mother.
This kid? He fell off.
Keith's first appearance was one of the most iconic we've ever seen. It seemed like another step up in the Golden Ticket's talent. Now, this wasn't Jared Nathan or Nicole Tran anymore. This was a kid with a real shot at becoming a superstar. But as Heath started to break the barrier of the Golden Ticket and was given his chance at regularship, everything started to fall apart.
You got shitface last Thursday.
Yeah,
you missed your flight. He fucked up. Who's fucking up now, huh?
Me, I fucked up.
You did.
Yeah.
And I was going to take him to do sold-out theaters in Boston and Baltimore, and he slept through his flights. And I did not get a response until after we landed in Boston.
This was the moment Tony lost his trust in his little star, and Heath would be the first Golden Ticket winner turned regular who was demoted all the way back down to just a Golden Ticket. But it wasn't just stardom Heath was struggling with, it was also his sobriety. See, at this point, winning a Golden Ticket or becoming a regular is actually a pretty massive deal. You go from a comic people don't give a shit about to a somewhat mini celebrity in downtown Austin. And Heath was struggling to find the balance between having fun and focusing on his career. And I think even he'd admit that he was a little bit more locked in on partying rather than grinding to take full advantage of this opportunity. But our next Golden Ticket winner is someone who has tried to take full advantage of it. And the problem,
the nigga lost everything to the hose. Wow. He lost it all to the hose. More focus on wanting to get his slob knob than actually wanting to put the work in. Wow.
that Heath faced would be a blessing because no matter how hard he's tried, he's never really been able to capture that same momentum of some of these previous winners.
Back to the bucket we go. Make some noise for your next bucket pull.
Wow. Well, I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
Jack Shaw.
I was bullied. That's a shocker. I was bullied in middle.
I don't like Jack Shaw. And with that, I conclude today's video.